William Eggleston is an American photographer who is most widely known for his color photography. As color photography was relatively new at the time, he helped to popularize this new form of art. Eggleston was born in Memphis, Tennessee, and ever since he was young, he has had an interest in the arts and in visual media. Although he attended multiple colleges, he never managed to complete a degree. He began to take photography more seriously when his friend gave him a Leica camera. Most of Eggleston's photos were centered around capturing the everyday life of an average American at that time. Initially starting with black and white photography, one of his most famous photographs is that of a boy standing at a convenience store. What may seem like a relatively simple photograph was actually constructed meticulously in order to give the impression of capturing a snapshot moment of life. As this photo was more interpretive by nature, it allows the viewer to come up with their own story and fill in the details and background for how this photo came to be. For example, we don't really know the boy's story, who he is, what's going on in the image, why he's here, so there's a lot that is left to the viewer to decide and fill in the gaps. Moving on to when he began to focus more on color photography, the exhibition titled Los Alamos, located at the Metropolitan Museum, contains a set of photographs that were taken from 1939 to 1974. Most of the photos in this collection are rather descriptive by nature. Most of the photos shown here are relatively descriptive in nature, as they don't require the viewer to come up with their own conclusions about what's going on in the image, but instead they're very laid out and they show you exactly what is to be imagined. As with a bunch of photos in his exhibition, a lot of these images utilize color scheme and lighting in addition to composition in order to highlight certain parts. For example, we can see the color contrasting with the background in order to highlight the hamburger sign. In contrast to the photos shown before, these images from the collection show a more interpretive style of photography. A perfect example of this interpretive photography would be the image above, of what appears to be a person standing in a field with clothes that might be a little bit disheveled and the story not being clear. The image is taken at eye level, so it appears that neither the photographer or the person in the photograph has a higher power than one another. Although we can't decipher what is going on from the image alone and the contents alone, one thing that is interesting is from the angle of which this photo was taken. The image kind of captures the idea that these people are just like you and me in everyday life. In this image, we can see a man who appears to be standing in a telephone booth. This is another good example of an interpretive photograph. As we can see in the image, the man is standing in what appears to be a photo booth on the phone. The perspective from which the photo is taken almost gives a feel as if the photographer shouldn't be there, and as if he is listening in on some important conversation, as a dramatic effect is seen with the lighting. Here are some other images not from his exhibition that also show the art style that he's portraying. All in all, we can see that color, composition, and lighting are some of the most important factors of which he uses in order to create what seems to be relatively boring objects into intricate pieces of art.